You ready?
Yep.
Okay. It's now 1:05, and the August monthly meeting of the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission is hereby convened. I note the presence of a quorum, and I call the meeting to order. We have some guests here. Would you please introduce yourselves? Starting with you.
I'm Deborah Roseanne from Ardmore, Pennsylvania.
All right.
I'm sorry. Hi, I'm Karen Rollins-Fitch. I'm the acting chair of the New York City Human Relations Commission.
And I'm Melissa Plotkin, and I'm with the New York Jewish Community Center.
Great.
Good afternoon, I'm Mayor Kim Bracy. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
I'm Sonia Thompson, president of New York NAACP.
I'm Mark Rose, one of the commissioners here for New York City Human Relations.
Welcome.
Joanna Harris, I'm with the HRC. Hi, good afternoon. I'm Raquel Millie. I'm one of the commissioners of the New York City Human Relations Commission.
Okay, thank you. The first order of business, before we get some welcoming remarks from the mayor, is the approval of the July 28th, 2014 meeting. So I'll need a motion for that.
So moved, Vice Chairman. Second.
It's been probably moved and second that the minutes of the July 28th, 2014 meeting be approved. Is there any discussion on the motion? There being no discussion, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The motion is carried and the meeting minutes are approved. With that, I'll turn things over to Mayor Bracy for some words.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Y'all do talk in here, don't you? I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was going to be so formal, but good afternoon and welcome. On behalf of my administration and the residents of the city of York, we welcome the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission to our city. The State Human Relations Commission has been an agent for change across the Commonwealth, and we recognize that and applaud your efforts in working in partnership with us as well. We are proud, a proud community that has supported our local commission since 1974 to address discrimination in housing, employment, and public accommodation, as well as engaging in educational and outreach activities, promoting all the while diversity, equality, and nonviolence in the city of York. Our local commission, of which you've heard some members are here even, strive to assure equal opportunity to all individuals and to safeguard their rights to public accommodations, their right to secure housing, and to foster employment of all individuals regardless of their race, color, familial status, religion, creed, ancestry, any issues like that. But we thank you all for visiting with us today and helping us to protect the civil rights of all Pennsylvanians across the Commonwealth. Welcome. If there's anything you should need while you are here, if you haven't already found those different things, please let us know. I'm right upstairs, can help out. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
We'll have a report from Chief Counsel.
Good afternoon, everyone. Chief Counsel's report. We are awaiting the fulfillment of the swim club cases out of Philadelphia. These cases involve 65 minority children who were denied access to a private swim club several years ago in the summer of 2009. And litigation ensued by the PHRC along with the Department of Justice, and a settlement was reached. The swim club filed for bankruptcy, and the parties have been awaiting the bankruptcy to be completed. The fund is about $600,000 right now. It was originally $1 million. There were some fees taken out of it. The last piece that's waiting for the final distribution is that the IRS has some of the swim club's money, which they are about to refund. Just this past week, $65,000 of which had been set aside for Diversity Leadership Council pursuant to court order was given to several Philadelphia area agencies that work with children and combat unlawful discrimination. Those agencies are the Urban League of Philadelphia, Boys and Girls Clubs of Philadelphia, Youth United for Change, Camp Sojourner, the Police Athletic League of Philadelphia, and Fellowship Farm. So those agencies received around $10,000 each, and they're working on programs for minority children in that area. And again, as soon as the IRS sends the refund that is owed to the swim club to the bankruptcy trustee, the funds will be distributed to the children and their families. So that's the update there. There's a few other actions that the PHRC has engaged in. We are working with the Coatesville School District to our education attorney, Pam Gwaltney, who's a part-time education attorney, met with the Coatesville School District. She's working with the school district to implement some practices and policies designed to make Coatesville a welcoming school district for all, following the problems that arose there last year. And with regard to her activities this past month, she met with a solicitor and provided materials from the PHRC with regard to equal rights in schools for the solicitor to put up posters and other materials. She's also working with the Mid-Atlantic Equity Center to work on some training materials and an assessment of the culture and situation in Coatesville for the students right now. There's a survey of the kids that's either has been done or is about to be done. That's the short version of the Chief Counsel's report. We have a mediation pilot program that's underway, and we are moving forward with that program. That's an opportunity for people who have employment cases to meet with an Office of General Counsel, trained mediator, attorney mediator, who volunteers their time, so it's free to the parties. If the respondent and the complainant agree, they meet with the mediator and have an opportunity to resolve their employment discrimination case before it's turned over for investigation. And that's it. Thank you.
We'll now get the report of the Executive Director.
Welcome, guests and partners. Glad to have you here today, and this is a fine city. It's a great location for a meeting, and we're blessed to be here today. I thought for your own benefit that we would go around and introduce ourselves. So I'm Joanne Edwards, I'm the Executive Director.
I'm Jerry Robinson, Chairman of the Human Relations Commission.
Reverend Garman from the West, Commissioner.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Commissioner Pamela Magaha. I'm from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, so the eastern part of the state.
Good afternoon. I'm Joel Bolstein. I'm a commissioner from Doylestown, Bucks County.
Jerome Mondesire, Commissioner, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Moran Yamani. I'm a commissioner from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Terrence Burrell, Commissioner, Chester County, Pennsylvania.
And staff, we'll start with
Visalvia Fernandez, Armour, Pennsylvania, Montgomery County. Sorry.
And Terrence Farrell, Commissioner, Chester County, Pennsylvania. We're technologically challenged in Chester County.
Chief Counsel, you want to start over your way?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Kathy Morrison. I'm Chief Counsel at the PHRC.
My name's Tammy McElfresh. I'm Joanne's assistant.
My name is Tiffany Epica. I'm the Acting Regional Director in Philadelphia.
Hello, my name is Adam Stolzinski, and I'm the Pittsburgh Regional Director.
Good afternoon, I'm Heather Roth. I'm the Regional Director for the Harrisburg office.
Hello, my name is Debbie Walters, and I'm an Administrative Officer for the Commission.
My name is Jim Kayer. I'm the Director of Compliance for the PHRC.
Good afternoon, my name is Stephanie Chapman, and I'm the Housing Director for the PHRC.
And my name is Kevin Kelly, and I'm Director of Education and Community Services.
Thank you, Commissioners and staff. If you refer to the public session agenda, we are at the Personnel Transaction Report, and Commissioners, it is in your packet. For appointments, we have a Clerk Typist 2 that's been appointed to the central office effective August 11th, an administrative officer 2 in the central office, and that's actually Tony, who was our greeter today. Tony, thank you. And she started 8/18. And then Kevin Kelly had the privilege of starting today.
It's my first day as director.
Yeah. We have two attorneys within the commission. Kelly Matus, who's in the Harrisburg Regional Office, who's been promoted from an attorney 1 to an attorney 2. Stephanie, who just introduced herself, is our housing director, and she'll be going as a lateral transfer to an attorney 2 in Harrisburg Regional Office also. In Pittsburgh, we have a promotion from an HRR 2 to an HRR 3. And then in Pittsburgh, we also have a new hire to an HRR 2. And that's retroactive to 7/24. Also, commissioners, you will see there's several PARs in progress. What that means, guests, is that it's the hire paperwork that we have to go through to bring somebody on board. Any questions with that report, commissioners? If not, I'll turn it over to my special assistant, Tammy McElfresh, to give a report on the budget.
The Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission's fiscal year 14-15 budget total is $11.8 million. And although that makes me feel rich, it really isn't all that much money. We have 101 staff and 3 regional offices and a central office. We are not level funded. We had a reduction of about $104,000 in state funds. But overall, we can balance our budget and still keep our staff on board at the complement level of 101 people. So that's good news.
Okay, thank you, Tammy. Report on status of Reading School District. About 2.5 weeks ago, myself, the chair, and the vice chair visited with the new superintendent of the Reading School District, and we had about a 2.5-hour meeting. It was very enlightening. He's very passionate about his job. As a matter of fact, the vice chair, who lives in Reading, was invited to a pep rally last week, which the superintendent called, and all of the administration, the teachers, the principals of the school district gathered together in a ball field, and they had a motivational speaker, and it was just a splendid meeting. So the passion is there in Reading School District. PHRC does have a conciliation agreement with the Reading School District, and the new superintendent said he's going to use that as his operational guide. He does not see it as punitive. He sees it more as a strategic plan that he can use moving forward to get his district better achieving their results that they want with student achievement and student equality. So we welcome that meeting, and we welcome upcoming meetings with him. Coatesville School District, we have partnered with the NAACP. We are working also with the Department of Justice. We have an action plan in place with the Coatesville School District. They have a new superintendent, and the meetings have been going very well. Pam Gwaltney, who is our current education attorney in the Philadelphia area, will be handing that baton off to Kevin Kelly to start working with that school district. So you should have an introductory meeting coming up very soon. Status on the Philadelphia School District, we just had a conciliation agreement that was 5 years old expire. However, there are still enforcement rights that we have with that school district. If you've been following the news at all, you know that there's a lot of budgetary issues in the Philadelphia School District. So we plan to continue to partner with that school district and help them along the way. One of the things that Kevin Kelly will be working on is initiating our education initiative. And we have about 25 partners that we work with throughout the state to assist us with school districts that are having problems. So we're looking forward to working with these school districts in the future to help them with any student equality, any bullying type programs that they need, anti-bullying programs they need to put into place, and other initiatives that they have on their plate that they want to accomplish, but their budget will not allow them to proceed because our partners are for free. So we're looking forward to those opportunities. Report on the strategic plan. I have the privilege of saying that the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission does have a 3-year strategic plan. It was approved by our commissioners at our last commissioner meeting, and we kicked that off with our regional offices last week. The meetings went very well. The employees have embraced the strategic plan, and I would say that 75% of that plan involves now a proactive type of stance from the commission, whereas we are reaching out for outreach and education rather than waiting for complainants to come to us. Kevin has already reviewed our strategic plan. He's on board with it, and I look forward to working with him on putting that plan forward and hopefully the community seeing more of us out there. Speaking of the regional offices, since we have the 3 regional directors here, I thought this would be an opportunity for each of them to talk a little bit about their offices and the initiatives they have in place. So Heather, I will start with you for the Harrisburg Regional Office.
Good afternoon, everyone, again. As you know, you are part of our regional office, so we support the City of York and York County. Our office is probably the largest of the 3 offices. We have about 30 staff members, most of which are investigators. This year we are diligently working on our age cases, which are cases that have been with the commission more than a year. We're trying to make sure we have quality investigations, but that also we can bring some resolution to those complaints that have been there, again, for more than a year. This year we did a lot of re-engineering, as you may have heard in some of our newsletters, taking a look at how we investigate cases, trying to make it more efficient, and being able to collect the best evidence to make a finding. Our staff has gone through all of the procedural changes. We've changed our priorities a bit to make sure that, again, we're looking at our age cases and cases that are with folks that are older or that may have terminal illness, or cases where we think that probable cause might exist. The staff in the Harrisburg office has traditionally been a seasoned staff, so making the changes has been a little bit of a growing pains with our office, but they've responded well, and I think you'll see with some of the annual reports and things that come out that we've had results with that. Other than that, we do a lot of training and outreach in our region. Last year we did over 65 events just with our regional office. We reached almost 2,000 people in Pennsylvania between training and outreach. So we're looking forward and looking for opportunities to do more of that this year.
Thank you, Heather. Adam, you want to talk about Pittsburgh?
Sure. So it's great to be here in New York. That's my first time. We too have been focusing heavily on getting rid of our old case backlog. We just believe it's not right for cases to sit with us for multiple years, and we've put our foot down and said we're just not going to do it anymore, not going to allow it. So we've mobilized our staff around these initiatives, and we've cut the length of case duration down from over an average of over 450 days to down to around 300 days in a year, which is a big accomplishment. But by doing so, our larger overarching goal, as Joanne mentioned, is give our investigators more freedom and more time to focus on activities in the community and getting our awareness out there and making ourselves more visible among communities, like we're having this meeting here. And we're getting closer and closer to achieving those objectives. So we believe we're on track. And I think this meeting is a good demonstration of that too, by getting out and being visible.
Thank you, Adam. Tiffany?
Hi, Tiffany Epica from Philadelphia. The Philadelphia office is an office of about 29 employees, including myself. Philadelphia, like the other 2 regions, have recently went through new procedures training, and we are working towards closing those age cases more timely within a year. And like Heather said, the urgent cases, making sure that the housing cases and education cases and complainants with terminal illnesses are at the top of our list to bring resolution to.
Thank you, Tiffany. One of the things that we're looking at also in our strategic plan is we have advisory councils, which are an arm of the commission, which basically help us with education and outreach. They're located in the communities, and they know their communities, so that's why it's important for us to have these kinds of councils. Unfortunately, we have no advisory councils in the Pittsburgh area. we have one advisory council in the Philadelphia area, that's Montgomery County. So both Tiffany and Adam will be looking closely at that and working with Kevin to see what we can get started up in those areas. We will also be partnering and looking for some work sharing agreements with our local HRCs, the Human Relations Commissions. So we look forward to that partnership being enhanced with the York HRC, and we're happy of any of the education opportunities that we've been able to offer to that HRC as well as the others within the state. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our Director of Compliance, Jim Kayer, so he can talk a little bit about his department and the EEOC contract. Thank you, Jim.
Sure. I want to say hello to Joanna again. Joanna recently attended training that we provided to you and one of your other colleagues with some of our new staff. And it's great to be in York. With regard to the relationship between PHRC and EEOC, as you might imagine, there's a lot of overlap in terms of what we cover with regard to employment issues. So both agencies have entered into a work sharing agreement. Essentially, it allows a complainant to come in the door of either agency and be able to take advantage of the protections that both the federal government and the Commonwealth provide to a person, rather than having to go to each agency separately, file with EEOC and then file with PHRC, and then perhaps have two separate investigations go on, maybe even getting the case resolved in a different way in each agency. So the benefit to the complainant is it's kind of a one-stop shop, and that the benefit to the agencies is there's no duplication of effort. So that the terms of that work sharing agreement generally are wherever the complainant decides to file will typically be the lead agency taking the lead over the course of the lifespan of that particular case. One of the other side benefits for PHRC in that regard is that since the federal government recognizes when we conduct a dual file investigation that the federal government benefits from that, they compensate us for that. So there is a specific contract in place where each year both agencies will work out a target number in terms of the number of cases it's anticipated that PHRC will investigate on behalf of EEOC. And then we'll work toward fulfilling that target each year. That target runs from year to year based on the federal fiscal year. So we're coming toward the end of that. September 30th is the end of the federal fiscal year. This year we are on target to meet our obligations under that arrangement. We've had to reduce our contributions a bit based upon some of the re-engineering that you heard the regional directors talk about. In the past, one of our MOs was, do everything you can to maximize the federal dollars, even if that meant putting aside perhaps somebody's case. And that's one of the ways cases got older, is that if a person's case gets put aside, it may be a while before it gets picked up again. Under our new mantra of trying to work out and resolving older cases first and those that fit commission priorities, it means that we may be biting the bullet temporarily in terms of the amount of federal money coming in. But that's a strategic decision that's been made by PHRC ultimately to recognize the value that somebody has. It fits in with the notion of justice delayed is justice denied. And what we're looking to do is to make sure that when we now have somebody filing with us, they're going to get our full attention. So.
Thank you, Jim. And with that, I'll turn over to our Director of Housing, Stephanie Chapman, if you want to also talk a little bit about housing here at PHRC and the HUD contract.
Sure. Hi. Just like Jim explained with EEOC having a work share agreement with us in employment housing, or in employment cases, we likewise have a work share agreement with HUD for our housing complaints. It works a little differently in that HUD does defer all complaints to the PHRC that occurred in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and that are jurisdictional with us. So that means you don't have an option of not having your complaint investigated by the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission. If you go to HUD first, they're still going to defer your complaint to us if it is jurisdictional with us. Instead of having a contract like we do with EEOC, a certain number of cases that have to be investigated in a contract year, we get paid for the cases that we submit. There's no set number, so if we have an inordinate amount of housing complaints that we investigate in one case processing year will get paid for all of those complaints that we investigate. HUD requires us to investigate housing complaints within 100 days, and that's because Congress has charged them in the Fair Housing Act with investigating complaints in 100 days. So that is part of our requirement with the work share agreement with HUD. The only reason that couldn't be done is if it were a very complex case, a lot of witnesses or a very complex issue, which HUD does have a specific procedure in which to request a longer amount of time in order to investigate those complaints.
All right. Thank you very much, Stephanie. And our chief counsel has been busy, Kathy Morrison, working with HUD in terms of requests that they had for us. And I'm going to let her explain the concept of substantially equivalent under our act and a challenge that she turned into an opportunity, because that's what we do here at the Commission.
Thank you, Joanne. So as Jim and Stephanie discussed earlier, we have contracts with the feds to investigate and prosecute cases. One of those federal agencies is the Housing and Urban Development Agency, HUD. We have a contract with them to do cases that are dual filed with HUD and with the PHRC. Every 5 years, we have to be recertified to be authorized to contract with them. And our 5-year reauthorization period's coming up soon. Before any of us got here, we had a lot of staff turnover a couple years ago, and before that, HUD had sent the PHRC a letter saying you have to change your statute in order for us to reauthorize you in 2015 to contract with HUD. So we didn't know about it until last year when we got a copy of this letter at a meeting with HUD. Basically, they wanted us to change the PHRA. Right now, someone has to file with us first before they can file in state or federal court under housing and employment. It's called administrative exhaustion. HUD wanted us to take administrative exhaustion out of the PHRA completely and just allow people to file directly in court in order for us to be substantially equivalent, what they call substantially equivalent with the federal law, because the federal law allows people to file directly in court. So we wrote them a very nice letter telling them why that would be a bad idea and said, look, we actually provide a lot of resources for individuals who file with us that they wouldn't get if they file in court. For example, it doesn't cost anything to file a complaint with the PHRC. If we find probable cause in your case and move it to litigation, it doesn't cost anything. If we need an expert witness, the PHRC pays for it, doesn't cost anything. So I compared that to what it costs to file in state court. As you may know, the filing fees just to file a claim in state court is pretty substantial. Plus, you have to have, you may want to have a lawyer, and you may want to also need other expenses relating to the litigation, like if there's discovery, if they take depositions and those kinds of things. Very expensive. So I compared the benefit of filing with the PHRC and allowing us to do our job during that period of time that is allocated to us to investigate and prosecute claims. And I also pointed out that in the 5 years that the PHRC, we went back 5 years and looked to see if anybody had ever filed after they filed with us, because after you've been with us for a year, you can file in state or federal court. And in 5 years, only one person had ever filed in state court and only 4 other people filed in federal court. And I pointed out that we can get injunctions and do all the kinds of things that are necessary to protect people who have an emergency housing discrimination issue. So we wrote them this very nice letter and talked to them a couple weeks ago, and they said, okay, we agree with you. So Pennsylvania is the only state that's allowed to have this administrative exhaustion requirement. They're going to give us an opportunity to be considered to be what we call substantially equivalent. At least now, I will tell you that that's what they've said. I asked them to put it in writing, and I haven't seen it yet. But it's kind of like the IRS. The IRS says the check's in the mail to the swim club kids. HUD saying the letter's in the mail to us confirming that they are going to take this position with regard to our next 5-year contract. So that's very good news.
Yes, thank you for that report. And Stephanie, I think it'd be good for our guests to hear a little bit about what HUD has offered out in terms of the partnership grants and the opportunities that we've taken in regards to those.
Okay, we have, this year HUD has offered, partnership grants. This is the second year in a row, but rest assured it doesn't happen often that the federal government finds extra money. But they did. So they gave everyone the opportunity to send in proposals to work with a local housing group in order to further fair housing. So we had submitted 6 proposals partnering with local fair housing groups, and we were awarded 3 out of those 6. The 3 projects that we were awarded, one is working with LHOP, which is Lancaster Housing Opportunity Partnership Group, and they are developing training for local municipalities, both borough solicitors, council people, about fair housing and their duties as elected officials in promoting fair housing. So they are developing training, and they are doing training for this year period based upon the fair housing. Our second partnership grant was with Southwest Legal Services, which is going to do an analysis of impediments to affirmatively furthering fair housing in 24 counties in central Pennsylvania. York happens to be one of them that is in this project. Affirmatively furthering fair housing is a very big project with HUD. Every 5 years, everyone that gets local community development funds must do a consolidated plan about fair housing in their area in order to get federal funds. So Southwest Legal Service is doing an analysis of these 24 counties to make sure that their consolidated plan is furthering fair housing. And part of that analysis is to analyze the impediments that local organizations, local municipalities run up against in order to be unable to further fair housing. For example, a big one is always public transportation. So people say, I have to live in a certain portion of a city, a county, a municipality, because there's no public transportations to other areas. So for me to get to work, for me to get to the grocery store, I need to live within this community. That's one example of what an analysis of impediments would be. One thing could be public transportation. So Southwest Legal Services is going to get all the consolidated plans for these 24 counties, and they're going to do an analysis to make sure that they are looking at the impediments to fair housing in those areas. Our last project is with the Poverty Race Council, which is a group that is working in Philadelphia and 2 surrounding counties, and it's a mobility partnership where they are looking to move people, families particularly, out of public housing and into higher opportunity neighborhoods. This project was done in Baltimore County approximately 3 years ago based upon a consent decree with Department of Justice and HUD and Baltimore County saying that they had a high concentration of minorities in public housing. And they wanted to find a way to offer them housing in higher opportunity neighborhoods. PRAC, which is the Public Poverty and Race Council, is working in Philadelphia to attempt to do the same thing, to see if they can move families out of public housing and into these higher opportunity neighborhoods. We are only in the fifth month, I guess, of these partnerships. They go for a year. So hopefully you will hear from us in March about how successful all 3 of these projects were, and we will publicize the results for all of you to see. Right now, we only have about 1/4 of information available that they have done thus far, but hopefully we will have some really good results on all 3 of these projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. And I also wanted our guests to learn a little bit about the task force that we have here at the Commission, and the chair is going to describe the task force and update you on our last meeting that we had.
Yes. What's the new name of the task force?
The it's the community relations now. The task force on community relations.
Okay. Well, we had that last week, and Tamika Hatcher presided over it, and Mr. Kelly, that'll be one of your responsibilities in the future. We had about 15 attendees, and we discussed various issues that had been reported to the Human Relations Commission during the ensuing the past month. However, at this meeting, most of the discussion involved itself around police and community relationships. The meeting went from about 10:30 to a little bit after 12. There were about 15 attendees. There's usually more, but we've gone to a bi-monthly schedule, so the attendance was little less than we usually have. But that's basically what happened at the task force meeting.
And this group really helps us to talk about any community relations that are occurring, whether that's good work that police are doing, or if there's tension in neighborhoods, so that we can be proactively dealing with it with our partners. There's probably about 25 to 30 partners that we have, anywhere from like the Department of Justice to state police, local police, and then safe schools, because we do talk about school district situations too. And I believe you were passed the report. Is that what you gave everybody, Jim? So you can see we have this report that we generate, and we get this information either from media or from our partners, and we talk about those high priority types of community issues that we want to partner with the various partners on. You can see in that report that there was recent KKK activity, so we were able to get with our partners and really work through that and educate the communities of how they could best deal with that type of group coming into their neighborhood. So I'm very pleased with the way that we've been able to partner. And we will be inviting our advisory councils and our local HRCs to join in on this task force also. So you'll be hearing from us in the near future.
In fact, York usually is represented at these meetings, but I don't think there was anyone there from York this past week.
Okay, with that, just wanted to communicate to the commissioners that our next meeting is Monday, September 22nd. It is in Harrisburg, but it will not be at the PHRC. It'll be at a location in Susquehanna Township. We hope to have community members come to that meeting, so we will be utilizing the same type of schedule that we did with the Coatesville meeting. Begin mid-afternoon. We'll get that time out to you, the exact starting time, and then going through into the evening, since that's the best time to get the community members to come. Any unfinished business that we have, Chair?
Do we have to vote on the?
Yeah, we have to vote on the Rosen case.
She's here.
And she is here.
Okay. Were you involved in that case?
Yeah.
Joel,
Yeah.
do you want to tee it up for us?
Yeah, sure. So all the commissioners should have in their packet a copy of a consent order that's now been signed by Ms. Rosen, who's here in the front row with her puppy in training, I suppose, along with our counsel, Ryan Hancock, and the president of the Board of Trustees of Haverford Township Free Library. So Commissioner Mondesire, Commissioner Yingst, and I were the panel assigned to hear this case that involved a puppy trainer who brought a claim against the Haverford Township Free Library relating to the rights of a person who is training a support animal or a guide dog when that guide dog or support animal hadn't yet been certified as a guide dog or a support animal, and so was in training. Mm-hmm. Our rules aren't exactly clear on, or I'd say they're maybe even silent on how the law, the PHRA, would apply to that set of facts. So we were prepared to hear the facts But the parties, as is often the case, agreed to settle before our hearing began, thinking that that was the best result for everybody. So settlement is in front of us. It's consistent with the discussion that we had. We did have a conversation with the parties when we adjourned our hearing, knowing that they were reaching a settlement. They had only some terms, some general terms. Now they've been reduced to writing. You have it in front of you. As I said, this is consistent with what was agreed to. So my recommendation as the panel chairperson who was assigned to hear this is to approve it. And then for the PHRC to take up the development of some guidance to fill in those gaps in the statute to make it clearer what the law is in Pennsylvania as it applies to puppies that are being trained for to be a guide dog or a support animal, so that we make it clearer for both parties, the people who are the dog trainers and the places of public accommodation, so that they understand a little better what the rules are. So I would take up with Ryan Hancock, the attorney who was working on this case, that I'd work with him to try and put together that draft policy for the PHRC to consider, and then put it out in a draft so that people could comment on it, and then ultimately, hopefully, develop a policy or guidance that we could put in place to make it clearer, because this is, at least from the little time that we spent on this, an area that could benefit from some additional clarity. Mrs. Rosen's dog has been pretty quiet today, which is, I guess evidence of the fact that they're not going to be disruptive necessarily when they're going through the training program. The issue is really the fact that the law speaks to guide dogs and sport animals, but not necessarily those that are in training to be guide dogs or support animals. So how do you treat those dogs or sport animals during that training process, where part of the training program is obviously to put them out in to places of public accommodation, so you could tell whether or not that particular puppy or young support animal is capable of being out in the public. So this is an easy one for us because the parties have already agreed to these terms. It's only binding on those parties, so we need to do something more so that others will know exactly what the law is.
And in addition to that, we do have to approve it.
Right.
So I'm open now for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent order that's in front of us in the case of Deborah B. Rosen versus Haverford Township Free Library, PHRC case number 2011-06080.
I'll second the motion.
It's been properly moved and second that we approve the order that has been drafted regarding Deborah B. Rosen versus Haverford Township Free Library. Is there any discussion on the motion? There being no discussion, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion is carried and the order's been approved. We're at that part. Oh, would you like to speak? Well, we're going to have comments now, and we want to limit the comments to 3 minutes. And Ms. Rosen, since we discussed your case, we'll give you a first opportunity to make a comment.
Thank you very much, sir. Honorable commissioners, staff, visitors.
You might want to go to the microphone because we're recording this.
I think she's sleeping.
If they could also start with their name
It's your first commissioner meeting.
Thank you.
If you want to just push on the microphone, if the green's not lit up, you need to push to light it up to make it audible. She doesn't have that there? Okay.
Is it working?
Yep, it is.
Great.
Very good.
Thank you. My name is Deborah Roseanne.
And you're from?
I'm from Ardmore, Pennsylvania.
Thank you.
And I thank you for the opportunity to speak here today. I'm the complainant in PHRC case number 2011-06080, Roseanne versus Haverford Township Free Library. I'm here today on my own, without counsel, and not as an official representative of any organization. I have met some of you earlier this month in Media, Pennsylvania, and to you I would like to apologize for your having made that trip. The consent order agreed to by both parties was prepared to be offered in similar form by my lawyer and myself at a conciliatory meeting facilitated by the Philadelphia Human Relations Commission almost 1 year ago. At that time, the library chose not to enter into discussion. However, by mindful choice, I am an optimist, and I am profoundly grateful for the full Commission's ultimate involvement in this case. I'm profoundly grateful for the opportunity to further educate on the unequivocal need of public access for puppy raisers, trainers, and handlers of guide dogs. Among the disabled populations helped daily by service dogs are our Iraq and Afghanistan war veterans. Mm-hmm. Tragically, 23 veterans are committing suicide daily. The average wait time for a service dog is 2 years. Puppy raisers such as myself can shorten this wait time radically. The ability of these service dogs to support their partner to live with dignity and independence is ineffable. Nascent organizations as well as individuals committed to raising guide dog puppies require full public access such that when those puppies become adult service dogs, they are confident and competent in a wide range of public settings. As this commission continues to study and address the issues of public access, I humbly ask of you to stay true to Pennsylvania Human Relations Act, subsection 12A. The provisions of this act shall be construed liberally for the accomplishment of the purposes thereof. We can save lives with these dogs. It is my understanding that today the full commission will be reviewing the consent order between Haverford Township Library and myself, and it will be signed and made official. I thank you. And lastly, and with your permission, I would like to present the commission with several books and articles, adult and children's fiction and nonfiction, on the subject of service dogs to further your education, which you so graciously have agreed to continue on this subject. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I thank you for your time and energy coming down to Media
My name is Kate Brooks, and I'm from Ardmore. And this is Henry Dog, who started the whole, ball rolling. He was about that size when all this case started. And now, I don't know if you knew that there was 2 dogs sitting over in this corner, but this is a mature service dog that was raised by Deborah Roseanne. And he's my service dog. It helps me in all walks, in all different ways, not only walking and helping me up and down the stairs as he braces, but he's if I can kick my laundry down to the bottom of the stairs, he runs it to the washing machine, hands it to me. He sticks his head into the washing machine and pulls out the wet laundry so I can put it into the dryer. He picks up various things I drop on the ground so I don't have to take a chance of bending over and falling. He gets the phone when it rings and brings it to me. He's very helpful. So I just want to say I thank you, and thank you for making the law more specific, because if it wasn't for puppy raisers like Deborah Roseanne, I wouldn't have a service dog that has been exposed to so many different areas. And it's really important in their first year of life for them to be exposed to different places, different populations, whether it's older people, younger kids, in between. It's really important that they get all that exposure at a young age. And so you can see the finished product that Deborah Roseanne started with. And I thank you for all your time, and thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you. Come in. Forward.
Good afternoon. Sandra Thompson from York NAACP. I wanted to just state I looked at your community meeting notes, and just also wanted to state that York NAACP is holding a forum tomorrow dealing with community police interaction, and we'll have a representative there. I believe Martin Kearney is attending. Where we have the local district attorneys, 6 police chiefs, as well as Department of Justice, Attorney General's Office, Civil Rights Division, and then your office also coming down to facilitate a discussion between the community and police.
And Kevin, you'll be at that also.
Okay, great.
Welcome to the commission.
So that's at 6 p.m., 605 South Duke Street here in York. The other thing I just wanted to, because I also saw your report of you're getting involved in several school districts across the state. And I want you to keep York City School District on your radar because of the fact of them pushing for 100% charters here.
Yes.
And so I do feel that it is a sort of equal protection argument. They don't do that in affluent neighborhoods. They don't do that in predominantly white neighborhoods. So I think that is something that we need to keep an eye out on. And just in general, they don't necessarily provide the best education for the students, and also make it open to all students with various disabilities. And unfortunately, just local charters here, they have a habit of expelling African American boys. So that is something that why this endeavor gives us cause for concern. The other thing that I just want to say, I'm also a civil rights attorney, so I deal with your agency quite often. I do want to say that in your efforts of closing cases, to be mindful of the investigation still, in reference to sometimes we receive the respondent's answer, which is always going to be different than the complainant's answer. Just ask that it still be investigated, that witnesses would still be subpoenaed, and statements and documents would be requested before a no probable cause finding is made. The other thing, just from some feedback that I hear from complainants, sometimes when they go in without counsel, and then by the time they speak to me, I see a lot of things that they could have said and should have said, but the question wasn't asked of them. They did not know what to say. So I think when they just having the investigators pull things out of people because they have experienced things, they just did not know how to communicate it. And because of the time deadlines, we don't want them to lose out on any claims. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good points. And one of the things that we tried to do with the re-engineering was look at that quality investigation. And that includes contacting witnesses. That includes asking the right questions of both the complainants and the respondents. So the points that you made to us helps to reinforce what senior leadership has identified as some problems that we saw as patterns occurring with our investigations. So we welcome your feedback as we continue to move forward and you get cases under the new re-engineered procedures. You can feel free to contact me personally, or you can contact Jim Kayer, our Director of Compliance. We'd love to hear that kind of feedback coming back to us so we can continue to improve. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wishes to be heard today? Okay. That being the case, I will accept the motion for adjournment. Been properly moved in second that we adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. We need your evaluation forms.
Where is that? It's in the packet?